Welcome to the SWBL podcast presented by 1356 Public House. And tonight I am joined by Eli Erickson, manager, captain of the SWBL Marlins. How you doing, bud?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing great. We're rolling through these captain interviews now and just getting prepped up for the season 22, which is wild to think about. It's guys, it's going to be the same as all what you're kind of used to with captain interviews. We're going to break down the roster, look at the division, look at the schedule, and just have some fun. So, Eli, anything to throw out there into the world before we start?
Not yet. I love talking good about the Marlins and bad about the O's. So
Nice.
I'm sure we'll get into that stuff today.
Can't wait. Can't wait. All right, well, Leia, let's jump into it. Roster. Nothing's changed. It
No.
is the same. So, and I'll run through it real quick. You yourself there. You got Luke, Jordan, Sam Rudnick, Josh Anthony, Trent Davis, and Corey Poley. So it's the same roster as last year, which was the same roster as your first year, other than I guess Jordan. Jordan was added
Yeah.
last year, right? So or
Yep.
2 years ago. So this will be Jordan's third year on the team. But yeah, not a lot of turnover. You've had the same group every year. Last year, you guys went 5-5, right in the middle of the pack there, and just missed the playoffs in a really heated playoff race. I think there were going into Monday. I think there were still what one, two, three, four. So that leaves four teams, 4 to 5 teams still in the hunt to get into the wild card game.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, let's jump back. What do you remember about last season? What are you kind of taking away from season 21?
Yeah. Some tough losses. Um, Obviously Luke started with a slump, which hurts. I didn't hit particularly well. Our pitchers did pretty well, and again, each year we've taken something out of it and brought it to the next season. And what I really took from last year was Josh Anthony's performance at the plate. I mean, you look at the batting average, slugging, OBP, all that stuff. There's only three guys who are in the top five of all of those, and he's one of them. So and that is probably mostly my fault. Of course, he's gotten better each year, but also he didn't get many at bats necessarily the first couple of years. Again, even before Jordan would join, we had a big roster, and I'm just trying to keep plenty time for everybody as best I can. We're all adults here; it's not going to be even or anything like that, but just making sure we can get everyone in because he was a pitcher. That's a very heavily involved position for 5 games a year. So I just didn't get him a ton of at bats. Uh, Obviously, that was not the right decision. I was probably holding him back there. So that I'm sure we'll talk about season 22. That'll be one change I'll make for that. But otherwise, just man, just a couple games that we could have. We had a pretty epic game early against the O's that we ended up losing. Even if we had won that, we still would have lost the tiebreaker. We'd have missed the playoffs at 6-4, which maybe that's happened before. Seems hard to do. Um, so that stunk. It sucked playing you guys at 6:30 in the morning. I can't remember if that was Sunday or I guess it would have been Monday. And then just getting waxed in that game because we all knew most likely that was the game. Winner is 85% in, losers out kind of thing. But we played well. We like other than those first 2 years, we show that we're right there with any other team, can beat any team other than apparently the Yankees. And but most people can't beat the Yankees, so I'm not gonna be too upset by
Yeah, I did, but that's okay.
that.
um, no, you brought up a lot of things I wanted to talk about anyway. So let's rewind a little bit. Did want to give a lot of props to Josh. He broke in to the top 22 this year, which I thought was extremely well earned. Um, he's that the very bottom, I guess, of that list, but this year it was pretty hard. There were a lot of guys right there on the fringe that you could make a case could or should have been on the top 22, but weren't, and Josh was. And so I think the league saw how improved he was, how good of a year he had, and they rewarded him for it. And so did want to just kind of throw that out and just say he was great, and glad to hear he's going to get some more opportunity off of that. Obviously, it makes sense when you're looking at it from a managerial position. If you can get more production out of somebody who you didn't expect it, that's always going to be a benefit. So now it seems like you've really got a solid lineup there. But again, back to the second thing that you kind of mentioned, yeah, having seven guys, it's tough. You're trying to get everybody playing time, have everybody have a role. Um, and yeah, you've done it now for 3 years. So are you changing aside from maybe getting Josh some more ABs? Is there anything else that you're gonna maybe change, or I guess what else have you learned about the team in general over the last 3 years?
Yeah, we'll be making other changes too for sure. So, look, Trent's just not going to get opportunities at the plate. He's a good pitcher. He's going to pitch. I just not enough bats to go around. Corey's going to play a lot in the field this year. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being 8 or 9 games. Like, I think he's going to become a permanent fielder. I haven't gotten him in a ton of games, but he's done really well when he's in there, and his at bats will remain pretty low. So I really want to get him involved in the field, and I think him playing more in the field might allow the other position kind of to be maybe split. I still don't really know what I'm going to do with that, but between Jordan and Luke, maybe just allow them to, for half the games, just worry about hitting and not worried about the field. I'm still trying to decide if having them be all involved the whole game is better or just focusing at hitting. So that's still up in the air. And, I briefly talked to Luke about it. But those are more conversations that are going to come shortly. Otherwise, I'm actually probably not going to play a ton this year. I'll go ahead and, again, we need to shrink that batting order, and I'd rather give those at bats to Sam primarily versus I think in years past we've ended up getting the fourth and fifth most, but around the same amount of at bats. And I think I'm going to give mine to him and really lean into the four batter approach and just and maybe it'll irritate some guys, but by hopefully Sunday morning they are rolling by that point. Playing 5 or 6 games, and yeah, from there, that's when you get hot and get rolling and into the playoffs. So quite a bit of changes for a team that is returning their same roster, but that's where I stand as of today, and obviously that could change in 6 or 7 weeks, but that's kind of
Yeah.
my general thoughts.
Yeah. But yeah, and you said, a lot of change for the same roster, but it also means that you've had, 3 years of, I don't want to call it data, but 3 years of watching these guys and seeing what you have, and now you're able to sort of craft that and fill the pieces in. Your first year, you're kind of throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. And then, your second year, you add Jordan, and Jordan and Luke have phenomenal years, and you make the playoffs. And then you still have a good year last year, but you miss the playoffs. But your pitching comes on, and Josh Anthony comes on, even though Luke and Jordan take a bit of a step back from the previous year. It doesn't mean that they're bad players by any means, but you have more experience to know, okay, this is where I think everybody fits in now. And sometimes you can't find that out till a couple years, because if you had said, I'm sinking everything into being a fantastic, hitting only, and I don't care about pitching, I don't care about this or that, and then you'd relied on Jordan and Luke last year, who took a step back, then maybe you're not even 5-5. You're 3-8, 3-7, 4-8, or 4-6. Sorry, math is hard. But yeah, so I don't think it's a bad thing. I think the four-man makes sense, but the good thing again with that and the big roster is if Sam takes a step back and he goes on a slump, you have depth. You can put yourself back in there who has experience at the plate. You could give Corey, maybe if he's playing field that game, let him have a couple at bats there. You can, that can change stuff, and that can provide a spark sometimes. So, the depth is great. I like that you have that depth. I've been a captain who's had depth before. It's tough to manage playing time and personalities and frustrations and expectations, but at the same time, like, it provides some value that other teams don't have.
Yeah, exactly. And that is really kind of my only adjustment I'll probably make this year is maybe switch a fielder out if something isn't working, or switch a hitter out. I think it's the best approach to not just change too many things. And maybe it, I see it as we got to give them the weekend. We like you said, we have this data. We just got to give them the weekend to let it sort it out. I don't want to jump the gun and pull a guy who has a tough 2 game stretch on Saturday afternoon. He might pick it up. Maybe he faced Chad Young and Sam Skibby. Not a lot of guys are getting hits off those guys. So I generally don't make many changes during the weekend, and I don't really see any changes happening this year either, for better and for worse.
Cool. Well, yeah, let's look at season 22 then. Let's start with your division, which is also the same this year. So you're in the Kenny Center division again, and you're with the Yankees and the Expos. So I was sort of in that position last year, and so I'm curious, like, what your thoughts are having the same division, and what what you're feeling about your division again this year.
Well, I'm sick of the Yankees, so I could have done for any of the other teams over the Yankees. The last 2 years, the question is, hey, who do we want in our division, right? They ask that before they get pulled and whatnot, and I always have said the Expos and Yankees, like those are the 2 teams that I actually want. Changed my mind this year, still didn't have any effect. I did not want the Yankees. We still got it. But I wanted the Expos because generally they're not good, and we have fun playing them. Like I think this year we have one early game which stinks, but we do have a late game against them, also, which has just been fun. Like last year, it's a pretty epic game. A few too many beverages consumed by the time that game started, and kind of turned into a game that was very close that probably shouldn't have been. Trent hit a walk off. I think that could have been his only game he hit last year, and they sent us home with the W. So I like playing the Expos. Yankees, of course, I like every one of those guys. I like kind of playing them, but it's just been really tough. We beat them, I think, our second year, one of our couple wins. It might have been our third year. All the years starting to blur together, and I haven't been in the league that long. But we took care of them one early morning. But other than that, we just get waxed. So I wouldn't be surprised if after an inning or two, Samurai are pitching to just save our other pitchers' ERAs a little bit, because we had trouble getting them out.
Yeah.
And as great as the Orioles are, every game we play them really close. So I wanted them just because I feel like if we play them twice, we should get one win. Which, it makes that one time we do play them a little bit more meaningful. But still, I was hoping to get them, just because we just play them tight. I think maybe Peter and Sam maybe get a little nervous playing us. John sometimes hits against us, which is always a huge benefit for us, when you have an out every 4 at bats. But otherwise, I wanted new divisions just to change it up, and maybe we don't allow this next year, right? We do the random draw, but if it's the same division, we redraw or something like that. But I'm not upset with the divisions, just was looking for a change.
Yeah. Well, I think Sam does root for the divisions to stay the same every year. Now it's easy for him to say that because he's in the, top tier and he doesn't care. But
right.
I think every time we get there, he's like hoping that it's going to happen. And he was really rooting for it this year. And the Rockies and the Astros just flipped and everything else stayed the same. So that's really all that changed. But, you brought up a couple games that I wanted to highlight on your schedule. So you were talking about how much fun you had playing the Expos in the afternoon. You luckily you have a 6:30 p.m. game against the Expos. So maybe we'll get another epic fun game again this year.
Yep.
And then your first game on Saturday is actually against the Orioles. But I also wanted to highlight this game on Monday, against the Yankees. And I know you said you don't like playing them, but Sam puts a lot of division games there, and when you look at it and you think, okay, well, we're going to be fighting hopefully for a division, right? But that would mean you're probably fighting with the Yankees, so it could come down to that. And if not, you're fighting for a wild card team or a wild card game, which also means that you're fighting them. It can go one of two ways. They might be in and just decide, hey, we're gonna, you know, save an arm. We're not gonna throw Gus or Scott, and we'll let Sam pitch, which they've done. And Sam's actually done pretty well in the last couple of years. But so it could go one way where you don't get one of those guys, but it could go another way where they're fighting for the division. And just what are your thoughts on that game? And is there any other game on the schedule that you kind of have circled?
Yeah, so I was gonna mention that Monday game. Like generally, I think that's where we got them the couple years ago when it was I think the year before we made the playoffs. I think we might have been 3-10. I'm not totally sure. That was one of our wins. It's early. It's already been a long weekend. They're gonna be I don't if they have one game Monday, they're gonna be at worst 6-3 going to that game, right? Um, so maybe we're fighting for the division. Obviously, if that's the case, even if with a loss, we're probably still fine, right? In a wild card spot. But if they already have it locked up, like you said, we might get Sam, which Sam might have pitched a shutout against us last year. We couldn't hit him last year, but in the years past we have. So I don't know if he fixed something, found a pitch or two. I don't totally remember, but that is a big thing there Monday. It's either we're in a tough battle with them, so losing isn't the end of the world, or we're really maybe might not get their top stuff that could help us get in there as a wild card team.
Nice. Um, well, let's talk about the power rankings. They haven't come out. We haven't even done the voting at the time of this recording. So I'm curious. I ask this question every year, but where do you think you'll be ranked and where should you be ranked? And this is just overall team. We don't need to break down pitching, fielding, hitting.
Sure. I'm gonna double check here. So I think we will get slotted at 6. I think I'm looking at the standings last year. I don't see, depending on where, I mean, obviously Twins, Rockies, Astros, all the same record. The way they're listed in standings from run scored, like I kind of think that the rankings are going to be what they were last year, like what they finished in the regular season, with exception to Orioles, Twins, or Yankees. I generally speaking, Yankees generally get the love. Orioles just won it. They probably upgraded from PG to Jackson, so I could easily see them being one. But I think we are going to be 6. I'm not even going to say we should be higher. I think we, are going to be right there in that 3, 4, 5 spot.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Again, just a couple games goes, your way a little bit different. Maybe right. You beat the Yankees last year. That game goes different, right? Like
Right.
the standings might look different. So,
Right.
I think 6, and I'm not going to be upset if we're ranked 6. I think a couple of our good hitters had down years last year. Generally speaking, I don't think that's going to be the issue this year. But if it is, then yeah, 6 is probably where we're slated.
Sweet. All right, let's do some predictions.
Okay.
I want you to start by picking the division winners for the other two divisions. Okay. So just to remind you, the Cardinal Blinds and Shutters division is the Orioles, Rockies, A's.
Orioles, just not even a question.
Okay. Corner Pub and Grill is the Twins, the Astros, and the White Sox.
I will go with the Yankees. I
What?
am.
What? I didn't say the Yankees.
Oh, I'm sorry. What did you say?
Corner
Twins.
Pub and Corner Pub and Grill, Twins, Astros, White Sox.
I'm sorry. I meant Twins.
Okay.
Now I think that's a great division. Like
Mm.
I'm glad I'm not in that division, right? Like Twins are obviously a great team, but didn't have a great regular season last year or postseason. That I'm glad I'm not in that division.
Yeah. All right, now pick your wild card teams.
I would go with the Marlins, and I would still go with because I already messed up once. I'm gonna double check. I would go with the Astros.
All
Um,
right.
I mean, if Chad Young keeps up what he did last year. They're in. I'm just gonna bank on him not. That's my only reason for not slotting them in there.
Yeah. So you're flopping basically from last year, you're flopping the Marlins and the Rockies.
Yep.
All right, cool. Yeah. So sweet. I mean, I would like that. That would be great.
Yeah, I
So
mean, look, I obviously it wasn't just Chad Young who played well last year, but
yeah,
man, he was almost
he was so
unhittable,
good.
right? Like
So
it's
good.
just
Yeah.
an automatic win.
Yep. So good. So all right, that takes us to hard hitters. We're gonna do rapid fire. So just as fast as you can, and you can give a little explanation if you want, but just shoot them out. Okay.
Okay,
What's the final record for the Marlins?
6-4
Okay. Who is the team MVP for season 22?
because he pitches also. I think it'll be Josh.
Nice. What's your favorite show? Or what are you watching right now?
Man, all time. It's this is the second time I'm watching it. It is my favorite show of all time, The Sopranos.
Nice. Okay. Who will lead the league in home runs in season 22?
You can go with Luke.
Luke. Who is your, well, I already know the answer to this. Who's your least favorite team to play against?
The Yankees.
Yeah. Uh, what is what is your favorite tradition of the team?
I love us kind of laying out and posting up in South Beach. Um, just we kind of have that room where you don't have to sit; you can kind of lounge there, lean up against the pool. Obviously, Expo's got their spot over there, but I really like South Beach over there, and just having such a huge crew every weekend, like just fill up there.
Hmm.
I really enjoy that.
Yeah, it's a fun place to be. I've spent a good amount of time hanging out with you guys. I tend to chat with all of you during the game when I'm on the baseline
Yep.
over there over by third.
Oh, absolutely.
And we have a lot of fun. So I really like South Beach a lot. Hopefully, this year I'm planning to hit more. So maybe I won't be there as often, but hopefully I'll get to third. I can talk to you then. So
Yeah, we'll be
uh
there. So,
yeah, yeah. All right. Who will lead the league in strikeouts as a hitter in season 22?
do you by chance have that stat who led them last year?
Believe that it was Jimmy Nelson.
That's probably what I would have said. So I'm just gonna roll with Jimmy Nelson on that one.
Okay. Who will lead the league in strikeouts as a pitcher? That was also Jimmy Nelson. Though, yeah, pretty sure that's right from the
I'm
hitter
gonna
thing.
go with Gus Gibby.
Ooh, changing it up. All right. And who wins the championship?
Last year I did pick the Orioles, and I was correct. Um, I I think the Yankees.
Oh man. I'm gonna get so sick if it just keeps going back and forth between these teams.
You and me both.
All right, we're gonna play a little game
Okay.
from your roster. Okay. Players from your roster. You have to start one, bench one, and trade one. We may have done this before. I don't know, but
Okay.
you have to pick one player to start, one player to bench, and one player to trade.
And this is wiffle ball related.
Yeah.
I would start Luke. I have a question. I'm gonna clarify. So if I
Okay.
don't name a player, where do they fall in that hierarchy?
They
Like,
just don't. They just stay on the team.
I'm
But
just curious on its bench is worse than not being named.
bench is not necessarily worse. The cop out would be if you bench yourself.
That could be,
But
but I'm not gonna do that. I'm close enough with my team where I'll just bench one of them. I'll start Luke. I will go ahead and bench Trent, and I will trade. I won't cut him, but I'd trade Corey Pulley to the Yankees
okay,
to be with his cousin.
there you go. Sweet. Well, that is going to do it for the Marlins captain interview with Eli Erickson. Real quick, want to thank our sponsors: 1356 Public House, Cardinal Blinds and Shutters, Ketting Ice Center, Corner Pub and Grill, Spencer Gear, Chill Designs, Breckx, Everdolce Vita, Four Hands Brewery, Logix, and Johnny Pops. We've got more captain interviews coming, guys. We'll have a power rankings podcast, season preview podcast, all the things that I've been saying that we're going to have. It's coming as we lead up to season 22. And with that, Eli, get us out of here, buddy.
All right. I'm gonna go with talking smack on Spencer Bogad. I'm not sure what anyone of the Marlins ever did to him. I think it might be his shtick. I just don't. Most of us on the team don't get it. But I've heard he's good. No MVPs, in a while. Hasn't pitched well. Theoretically, he's really good. I know from what people have told me. So I'd be curious to see how he plays this year. Otherwise, that's it for me.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you taking the time to join me. Um, I'm just so giddy on the inside right now. And yeah, thanks for taking the time, man. It's always good talking with you and seeing you in the off season because we don't get to see each other too much until the weekend. So thanks again. And yeah, we'll see you soon, guys.
Thank you. Have a good one.